So I'm now hereby
Yeah. Yes, sir,
ending,
Mr. Chairman.
amending the governance committee. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the overall meeting. What I'd like to do first is to note that we have a quorum for the minutes, which we do. And so there are three items of business that I want to carry on. And so the first is to recognize that um, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Alan Liu. Alan passed a few days ago, and this is extremely upsetting. We talked about him in our last meeting, and I don't know if the other trustees are aware that he did die from COVID. He's a wife, a son, a sister, and they a fine career that he had as the city administrator in Washington, D.C., and he was off to an excellent start when he was here. Um, he's just sorely missed. I know that this affects all of us personally who are here, who have had and enjoyed a great relationship, growing relationship with him. Felt like he had been here forever, and I just I'm personally totally saddened by this. I know that others are also, and uh, I'll entertain any other few words that people might want to say, and then I'll have a moment of silence.
I guess I'll start. This is Hector Batista. I was the one who recruited Alan to CUNY. Known Alan since 1986. I was then working for Brooklyn Borough President Howard Golden in charge of economic development. Just 2 years out of college, got this amazing opportunity and worked with Alan on a project called Atlantic Center in Brooklyn, where he worked for a company called Rose Associates. And through that relationship and that sort of conflict that sometimes are inherent in trying to make a project move forward, and you have someone representing the private sector and you're representing the government. And at the time when the board presidents had a lot of power, which was they had something called the Board of Estimate, I got to work with Alan and you know we develop a relationship, and over the years we stay sort of connected as he moved in his career, and I would call him for sort of leadership advice, and he would call me vice versa. And about 10 years ago, I had to go and testify in Washington D.C. And every time I go to Washington to conference or whatever, I would we would have dinner, and I had to go to Washington D.C. to testify in front of Congress for the first time, and I was very nervous about it. And Alan, as you know, in Washington D.C., Congress does control the city in some ways, right? And so Alan had a lot of experience in dealing with them, and he just set me at ease. And we made a bond 10 years ago that one of us, we were CEOs of different places. One of us will work with each other one day or work together. And when I took over as COO of CUNY, and Judy Bertram decided to retire, I reached out to Alan. Obviously, there was a process and a search that went on, and clearly, through that process, he was to the chancellor, and I mean, I already knew that he was the right man for the job, not only because of the wealth of his experience, but also because of his New York roots. He went to City College. He is an immigrant, someone who, a middle class family who father owned the cleaners in New York City, and went to City College and then went to Columbia Architectural School. And there were two things that Alan was very passionate about. He was passionate about architecture, but he was also passionate about eating and loved to eat. And it's reflected on some of the charities every year, every couple of not more than every year, 2 or 3 times a year, he would write to me, and I would have to write a check to some food bank or some organization that was connected to helping people, because he always believed that no one should go hungry, and not only no one should go hungry, you should eat. And he when you left there, you have to leave with your stomach full. So the dinners for him, as you can imagine, were I came out of there pretty not only pretty full, ready to take a nap. But Alan, a really great man, and the last thing I would say about him is that he he had this way about him that he was able to take you on his journey. It was interesting. I had to speak to his staff, and all of us was very emotional. And I think it was Gwen who works for in facilities, who said that in a couple of weeks after Alan being there, everyone was on the Alan team. I think that really says a lot about the man, how he really believed in this work, and I believe he was going to do some great things on behalf of CUNY. I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss his values, family, transparency, good work ethic, and faith. And those are the kind of values that I have. And so, I didn't when I got that email, that call, it was very devastating, because I had spoken to his wife quite a few times, and I thought, he's going to come out of this. Maybe he won't be able to come back to work for a while, but he'll come out of it. And so it was very shocking and a great loss clearly to me personally, but to CUNY, to his family, and as you can see from the accolades he got in Washington D.C., the president of the mayor of Washington, just a beautiful statement the other day. He built the NAS Stadium and the Conventioners Bureau. I mean, the guy just tremendous credentials. So clearly will be missed to all of us. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to say a few words.
Hector, I really appreciate those remarks. I really do, and thank you very much for that. I think at a later date, I'm confident that we'll be able to do a memorial, for him. And again, does anybody else have any other words that they want to say before we move on? I know that you're thinking about them in your heart, and so what I'll do is I'll move on the next item of resolution, which is approval of the minutes. And so what I'd like to do is just to ask for approval of the minutes from the last meeting. If there are any changes, I'll accept that. Is there approval for that?
Motion to approve.
And second?
Second.
All in favor, opposed, abstentions. Thank you very much. The next item that we have, it's actually from the Governance Committee, and what I'd like is that's the action item. So what I'd like to note is that we had an action item, and John, if you can just summarize the action item, so that way we can approve it as a resolution.
Sure. Basically, this resolution seeks to do two things. It implements a requirement of the Public Authorities Law at Section 2879, and it covers two areas. One is an annual procurement report, which basically details the level of procurement activity by project, by contract, and by spending. It totals about $93 million, and this reflects procurement activity of the fund. Does not include activities on the part of DASNY, because that's a separate contracting entity. The second piece of this, it allows us to adopt the annual guidelines, which we're required to do. And this year, there are two changes. One is a memorandum of understanding that was entered into by CUNY, SUNY, CUCF, and SUCF, basically requiring that we undergo pre-audit review by the state controller for all contracts over $250,000. The second piece of this increases, which is by law, it was increased, the discretionary purchasing authority for MWB businesses from 200,000 to 500,000. And as we spoke to in committee, this allowed us to do a 100% minority-owned contract with Mitchell Titus, who will be doing all the financial statements for the construction funds, our construction fund, that is. So we're very pleased that we were able to benefit from it, and hopefully we'll be able to use this to advance more 100% minority-owned business contracts as opposed to subcontracts. This would allow greater flexibility in bringing in minority and women-owned firms.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask for a motion to adopt the governance committee report.
Oberfeld makes a motion.
Second.
Pichardo seconds.
Thank you. All in favor, opposed, abstentions. Thank you very much. It carries. The last item that we have is just a report from me indicating the next two meetings. The next two meetings, and you'll be getting correspondence on this, will be October the 22nd, and that's the same day as the audit committee. We have an audit committee that day, and that starts at 9 o'clock. The regular meeting of the fund will start at 9:30 on October 22nd, and then December 17th will be the next meeting after that. So those are the only two items that I want to report on. At this point, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. I know that a number of people have other things that they have to do, but I really wish that each and every one of you have a safe and healthy summer, with your families. I wish all of you well, and I know that we will be in touch with you along the way. Thank you very much for being available this morning. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Be safe and well.